Warning, this content is for entertainment and educational purposes only. What's up, everybody? Big Paul here with you today. We are going to talk about some fat loss math. Sorry, I haven't been really posting content lately. I've been on vacation, kind of getting back into the groove of things. But I wanted to talk about how much fat can you really lose in a given period of time. It is the new year. It is the time for all the weight loss charlatans to come out of the woodwork and promise you incredible results that are too good to be true. Losing 20 pounds in 2 weeks, that crazy kind of stuff. I was listening to sports radio the other day and heard a weight loss clinic that was advertising weight loss to regular people here in my area, Washington, D.C. metro area. And they were talking about some clients having 20 to 30 pounds of weight loss in a month. Yes, you can lose a lot of weight, but all that weight is not necessarily fat. There is a difference between fat loss and weight loss. We're going to talk about that all in just 1 second. All right, folks, before we get started on this one, I want to give you a quick reminder about the Science of PEDs and Anabolics e-course that Kurt Havens and I have put together. It is the most comprehensive PED e-course that you can find on the internet. It has something like over 100 modules, and it currently, in 60 or so hours of content, we do a monthly live Q&A for members of the community. Members of the e-course, where you can ask questions and we answer those questions. We're constantly adding to it, but it is a fantastic course. Go to the link in the video description below to check it out. We do have a free preview of it. And enough of that. Let's get started with the video. All right, so realistic rates of fat loss. That's something that I don't think a lot of people fully understand. It takes a long time to put fat on. It's actually... it's work getting fat. I'll tell you that. And I'm not saying that it's impossible to get fat. So realistic rates of fat loss. Let's talk about this a bit. I think a lot of times people get impatient, get in a hurry, and they want to get this fat off quick. I totally get it. Dieting sucks. It stinks. It's no fun. And you don't want to be on a diet any longer than you have to get the weight off. Weight loss and weight gain, honestly, both take a long time. You have to fuck up pretty bad to gain a bunch of weight. Gain a bunch of fat, that is. Let's think about this. So I have people that will come back from vacation and they'll put 10 pounds on and they're like, my God, I got so fat. If you actually put 10 pounds of fat on in a week, you would have to have eaten in a 35,000 calorie surplus to metabolize that much fat in a given period of time. And so what does that tell us? The majority of that weight that you gained on vacation probably wasn't fat unless you went on an epic cruise ship buffet bender of some kind. Most of it's just water retention from high sodium foods, and they'll wash off quickly. Usually within a few days, I'll see it come back off when I see clients that gain weight that rapidly. So you can do it. You can do the math on it. It takes time. And a lot of times that 30 or 40 pounds or whatever you need to lose that the average Joe needs to drop off didn't come on in a short period of time. It's 3, 4, 5 pounds a year over a 10-year period of time. I know that's how it creeped up on me. I was out of the gym for about 10 years. I kind of got lazy. I put on, I think I got up close to 300 pounds at one point. And it sounds like a lot on a guy my size, but I went up from like 240 up to like 360 pounds over a 10-year period of time. That's 6 pounds per year I gained. That's a half a pound a month. It's not a significant amount when you really look at it that way. And likely it was just a few times that I just went ape shit, probably over the holidays. Everybody gained some weight over the holidays. The problem is they just never are in a calorie deficit to actually lose that weight again. And so that weight that they gained over the holidays, they never ever lose it because they drink a couple beers every evening. They, eat fast food for lunch. They don't exercise. They don't do anything to really bring it off. You go to a couple barbecues in the summer where you eat a lot of food, high-fat food, and then you end up gaining 4 or 5 pounds a year. Sort of what happened to me over that period of time. And I think that's the typical average American. And most people are impatient and expect to lose that weight in 90 days. It just doesn't work that way. It took you a long time to get your ass fat. It's going to take you a long time to get that fat off of you. So you have to take that into consideration when you're thinking about fat loss. So let's do some math on it. If you want to lose 2 pounds per week of actual body fat, we are talking about a 7,000 calorie deficit to knock that 2 pounds a week off. That is, 1,000 calories a day. There's 3,500 calories roughly in a pound of fat. So you have to be in a net negative energy balance of 1,000 calories per day. Now that could be a mix of exercise, as in cardio, or eating less food, or a combination of both. There's fat burners. There's other things you can do to burn more fat. But really, you don't have a lot of room to play with. So for me, like if I look at a person, it depends on the size of the person, how much they can realistically lose. If you're a bigger person, if you, say you have 100 pounds to lose, you might be able to lose a little bit more. If you're somebody who's fairly lean, 2 to 3 pounds a week is probably the max you can lose. And if you're a large man, it's going to be more than a 120-pound woman. That 120-pound woman probably has a BMR of something like 1,500 to 1,800 calories a day. How low can you take her calories to lose weight? I mean, what are you going to do? A 500-calorie deficit and do 45 minutes of cardio to burn another 500 calories. So you're talking about 1,000 calories per day in that sort of situation. And as you get deeper into a diet, your metabolism is going to downregulate, and that BMR is going to come down, so it's going to be even deeper of a deficit. So for a smaller woman, 1 to 2 pounds per week is probably the max they can lose, probably closer to the 1 pound a week. And there's only so deep you can dig. A big guy like me, when I'm 260 pounds, 270, whatever I get up to in the off season, and my BMR is 4,000 calories, dropping 1,000 calories from my diet takes me down to 3,000. That's still quite a bit of food. That's way easier to diet than the woman who's 120 pounds who is at a 1,500 calorie BMR. Same thing for the bro that's 200 pounds and doesn't have a lot of muscle. The guy that has a 2,200 calorie BMR. How deep are you going to take it? Are you going to do a 1,000 calorie deficit and go down to 1,200 calories a day? Is that going to be productive? I don't know. Probably some split of increased activity and calorie deficit is going to be how you're going to get that weight off. But realistically, there's only so much you can lose in a week. So these assholes, these charlatans that you hear that promise, 10, 15 pounds of weight loss in a week, they're just full of shit. Now, there are diets where you can knock off that weight quickly, but there is a big difference between fat loss and weight loss. I can take 10 pounds off of somebody in a day just through sodium manipulation and water manipulation. There is 8 pounds in a gallon of water. Just don't drink water for a day. You're going to lose 8 pounds. But that's not fat. That's not actual body fat. That's what we care about. That's just water weight. It's sort of meaningless, really. At the end of the day, you need water in your body. You need a certain amount of fluid to be healthy and to survive. Now, somebody who's severely obese, that's been eating like absolute trash, eating way too much sodium, who's inflamed from all the lack of activity, from how they've treated their bodies, they could see rapid weight loss because of just getting healthier. But that weight loss isn't fat loss. It's mostly inflammation, water retention coming off the body, and they have a rapid loss of weight from just cleaning their diet up and having healthier lifestyle habits. That is not fat loss. It's just your body washing off inflammation and fluid retention. Not to say that that's not important. There certainly is importance in being less inflamed, having less water retention. You're going to be healthier, but it certainly isn't fat loss. People that do elimination diets where they pull carbohydrates out, say keto or carnivore style of diets, they can be productive for some people. I don't find them to be the most optimal for bodybuilding, but I am not completely discounting what they do, but I don't find them optimal for bodybuilding. A diet like that, you're going to have rapid weight loss, but it's not necessarily fat loss. There's not some magic to the diet that means you lose more fat. You may burn more fat, but there's also a difference between burning fat and losing fat. Those are two very different things. On the keto style diets, you definitely burn more fat, but burning fat is not losing fat. That has to do with being in a net negative energy balance. Whereas a moderate or higher carbohydrate diet, you are burning less fat, but you're also storing less fat. So it balances out. I'm not going to get into the details and describing it right now, but if you want to, we can expand on that in another video. So on a diet like a keto diet, you're going to have rapid weight loss at the beginning, mainly because of glycogen depletion. There's going to be no carbohydrates present. No carbohydrates present means no glycogen synthesis. And glycogen synthesis is something like 3 parts water, 1 part glucose. There's sodium involved in there as well. But you can see where if, we can do the math on it. Like, let's say if you can store 1,000 grams of glycogen, if you're a larger bodybuilder, and you get completely glycogen depleted, and it's 1 part glucose, 3 parts water, we're talking about 4 kilograms of weight loss from becoming glycogen depleted. That would be, 8.8 pounds of water loss over the course of, say, a week or so when you become glycogen depleted and go into ketosis. That doesn't mean you lost 8 pounds of fat. That just means you lost 8 pounds of glycogen and fluid. What we probably don't want as a bodybuilder. Now, for the average person, who cares? Some people get motivated by seeing the scale move down, and that's perfectly fine. Another point that we need to think about, too, is how much weight can we realistically lose while preserving muscle mass? As a bodybuilder, for the bodybuilding crowd that's listening to this, our objective during a fat loss phase is we want to hang on to as much muscle as we possibly can while we are losing body fat. We also want to keep glycogen full at certain periods. Now, there's going to be times that you're going to flatten out. That just is part of the process. There is a old saying in bodybuilding, you got to get flat to lose fat. That is true if your body fat gets too high. That sometimes you have to pull the carbs down so low that you're not going to have proper glycogen synthesis. But here's the thing. When calories get deep and when you cut carbs, your body is going to need some sort of glucose for the central nervous system to run. Yes, it can run off ketones, but a lot of times people have their fats low, and as you get leaner, there's not a lot of body fat for your body to tap into, to turn into ketones, and you get into this situation where your body has to make glucose. Everybody's been at the end of contest prep or end of a hard diet where you start getting lightheaded, you start getting low blood sugar, and what your body does in those situations is it gets into a state where gluconeogenesis is necessary to provide the glucose that the body needs to survive and to run. People say there is no such thing as essential glucose, or essential carbs. While that is technically true, your body can't. Here's the thing that people get mixed up: like with essential fatty acids, essential amino acids. These are things that your body can't make on its own. That doesn't mean that they aren't necessary. That carbs, because they aren't essential, doesn't mean that they aren't necessary for you to function properly. That is a complete misguided thought. Just because your body cannot make them on its own, which it does efficiently, but how it does it is by breaking down amino acids through gluconeogenesis to make its own glucose. Your body can make carbohydrates, sugar, glucose on its own, but it does it by cannibalizing itself or breaking down protein structures that you eat and turning it into glucose. Now, a question I asked, does that sound like an optimal state for retaining muscle? If your body is burning and converting amino acids into glucose, burning its own protein structures, converting those into glucose, even though they aren't essential. People like to say that carbohydrates aren't essential. Does that sound like an optimal state for preserving muscle mass? I don't think so. So that's another thing that we have to consider is how much fat, how hard can we press a diet, how hard can we push cardio and maintain the lean body mass, the muscle mass that we have worked so hard to accumulate. It sounds to me that it would be pretty stupid to go so hard on your diet that you start burning off your own muscle tissue. Everybody's seen that guy at the show. I have been that guy before myself, where I went too hard in the quest to be super lean, and all I did was end up burning up all the muscle that I had. It is not a great look. It is not a fun state to be in. You look like you escaped a forced labor camp on stage. It is a terrible state to put your body through. And it's not healthy for you either, even though carbohydrates are not essential. It drives me nuts when I hear people say that. Yes, carbohydrates technically aren't essential because your body cannot make them on their own, but the process of making glucose or carbohydrates is not one that's necessarily great for bodybuilding. Gluconeogenesis. I hear the carnivore boys talk about that all the time. Your body will just make all the carbohydrates that it needs. Just cut out the middleman and eat a potato instead of eating all that expensive ribeye. Anyway, I digress. So realistically, how much weight loss can we push? Fat loss, can we push and hang on to muscle? I find that gets less and less as you get leaner. When you are 25% body fat, you can be more aggressive with fat loss per week. When you get down into single digits, you might not lose that much. You might not even really see the scale move that much, and you get leaner. Half a pound a week, pound a week. Anybody who's been down in a contest prep, a lot of times the scale stops moving when you get close to the end of a diet. When you get into that single digit range, because we're trying to hang on to muscle tissue, trying to burn off that last little bit of stubborn fat, so the weight loss slows down. Now, realistically, just general terms, what I have seen, I have a rule of thumb that I go by. It's 0.5% to 1% per week of loss of your total body weight is what you can realistically get away with without losing muscle. Once you get past the first couple weeks of a diet, because you're going to have the initial flushing of water that comes off just from cleaning your diet up and eating less carbs and, getting all the junk foods out of your diet and just, lowering inflammation from doing cardio and all these other things that are going to clean themselves up in the first few weeks. Once we get past that, my goal is between, usually 1%. So for a 200-pound guy, we're targeting somewhere between 1 to 2 pounds per week, 0.5% to 1%. 250-pound guy, 2.5, maybe 3 pounds, probably more. Once again, that 120-pound girl, we're probably talking about a maximum of a pound a week. We're just slightly over a pound a week. So plan accordingly. If you have 30 pounds to lose and you're a 200-pound bodybuilder trying to get ready for a show and you need to drop 30 pounds, we know from doing the math, as you get closer to the show, it's probably going to be less. You do a 16-week contest prep, you're probably looking at something like 20 to 30 pounds that you can realistically lose during that period of time without sacrificing a bunch of muscle, probably closer to 20. And if you've gotten seriously fat in the off season, if you're 40, 50 pounds off your stage weight, that fat loss phase is going to be incredibly difficult. And you are likely going to lose muscle tissue if you have to press things that hard. Really, you get to a point, there's only so far you can cut the calories because you have a baseline amount of protein that you need. If you're a 200-pound bodybuilder, you're going to need something like 250 grams, maybe 300, 250. If we're going 1.25 grams per pound of body weight, if we're going 1.5 grams, then it would be 300. You're talking about 1,000 to 1,200 calories a day just in protein requirements. And if you have a certain amount of EFAs you need to get in, say 30 grams of EFAs, you're talking about another 280, 300 calories of EFAs that you need to get in just to be healthy. We're at 1,500 calories just with protein and essential fatty acid requirements. So if you're that dude that's got a 2,200 calorie BMR, you can only push about a 700 calorie a day deficit with the food, 600, 700. We're talking about, pound and a half a week of fat loss through that, and then the rest has to be done through cardio. And with cardio, there is an upper limit on what I see as productive with cardio. For me, I don't like pushing cardio more than maximum, if I have to, 2 45-minute sessions per day. And I like to do as little cardio as I possibly can get away with on contest prep or fat loss phases, because the less cardio you have to do, the more likelihood that you're going to hang on to muscle mass. Usually a single 40 to 45-minute session, people hold up to that pretty well. When you start getting into doing multiple 45-minute sessions, things get a little hairy. Things get a little bit questionable. All right, folks, that's all I've got for you on this one. I appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you for your support. Appreciate you watching. I will see you on the next episode. Take care. For coaching or consultations, head over to www.anabolicbodybuilding.com to book your spot today. I can help you with optimizing hormones, fat loss, muscle gain, physique, athletic performance, nutrition, and health. For more information, shoot me an email at bigp3rd@gmail.com.